Coming up on This Week in Computer Hardware, HDTV recos with Robert Heron, a $330 Freesynch monitor, or a $380 WQHD panel. We've got reviews, more iPhone 6s rumors, Radion R9 Nano performance, and Intel's new color-enabled gaming. All that and more coming up next on Twitch.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twitch.
Bandwidth for Twitch is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Twitch, This Week in Computer Hardware, episode 330, recorded August 27th, 2015. Is that an HDTV or a monitor? This episode is brought to you by ProX VPN. ProX VPN is a virtual private network that allows you to use the internet the way it should be, anonymously and without oversight. Save 50% off a 12-month subscription. Go to proxvpn.com/twit and use the code TWiCH. That's TWiCH at checkout. Welcome to Twitch, This Week in Computer Hardware, Twitch's weekly show that aims to bring you the most useful, most engaging, most delightful, and this week only, most awesomely HDTV-filled information about hardware on the planet. We love the computers, we love the gaming, we love discrete graphics cards, we love low-powered computers like the pile of Raspberry Pis over my shoulder, and yes, we even love cell phones and tablets. I'm Patrick Norton. Mr. Ryan Shrout is on assignment, perhaps somewhere in Oregon, and joining me today is my partner in mayhem and excess. Actually, we're very staid gentlemen.
Pretty much.
We're very zen. Robert Heron, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you, man. So if you're not familiar with Robert Heron, he and I hosted DLTV, which is all about technology. Later on, we hosted HD Nation. We got a new show launching this week called AV Excel, which is a podcast about home theater gear. His website, if you want some fantastic recommendations on hardware for your home theater, is HerronFidelity.com.
Woohoo!
And so
yeah.
we were talking on Teching a few weeks ago. All of the beautiful HDTVs we saw for 2015 at CES are on the market, or almost all of them, practically all of them.
Almost. It's getting close.
What is your pick? What's your pick as the best HDTV of 2015 at this point?
For what I've actually touched, it would be the JS9500 from Samsung. It's also the most expensive thing I've looked at this year, too. I have yet to look at the new 4K OLED panels from LG, but their flat OLED is coming out early next month, and I'm really looking forward to finally being able to say, hey, I all the time I'm receiving information from people who are like, I like LG's OLED panels, but they're all curved screens. I want the flat one. When is that coming? Well, they finally dropped the date and saying it's going to be next month. So I'm really looking forward to checking those out, even though they are super premium in terms of pricing. The image quality is just fantastic. But for the LCDs I've seen, that full array local dimming of Samsung's flagship, that JS9500 is, it's just eye candy. It is a fantastic display all around. And I finished up a lower priced version, not a lower priced version, but the JS8500, which is the flat screen version, not the curve. And it's pretty damn good too, but it's edge lit compared to that direct lit technology. And when it comes to LCDs, it's really tough to beat that direct lit system where you're just putting more light on the screen, and to be able to do cool things like local dimming really well, which gives you really good contrast in the picture.
So the direct lit essentially means that there are LEDs behind sections of the monitor. I can do local dimming or turn the LED off, which makes my blacks blacker and inkier and more luscious. You get a higher total brightness off of your LEDs. I gotta say, how are you feeling about? Yeah, I feel in some ways you are less enthusiastic, and in some ways more enthusiastic, or just more accepting of the curved panels. Because both of us saw the curved panels and went, "Wow, they're desperate to sell, panels to people with a lot of money." And do you feel? I mean, outside of the situation where you have a single seat theater, where that person's seat and getting the most brightness at them is essential. I mean, what's the use case for a curved monitor at this point? If you have more than, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the curve is strictly for design. If it's eye pleasing to you, the curve of that screen, do it. That's for you then. It really offers no advantage in terms of picture performance, other than it just so happens that the very best TVs from Samsung this year are curved screens. That's their flagship model. It happens to be a curved screen. But at any kind of appreciable viewing distance, you quickly don't even notice that curve, I find. And if there's one advantage subjectively that I find, it's with similar screen types. Like if you have a glossy contrast enhancing screen, I find that the curved screens actually do a better job at minimizing, or how they reflect light. It's different than a flat screen is. That curve actually seems to attenuate strong light reflections better. So I find in a brightly lit environment, I'd rather have a curved screen anyway, because it's going to reflect less of the room lighting. Or it does it in a way that's distorted that you just notice it less. And so for that, I don't mind either way. I understand some people just hate curves for some reason, but it's a big whatever for me. It's more like the aesthetics of it. Does it please you to look at that when it's off, say? Because when it's on and you're at any kind of distance, you really don't even notice that curve. It's subtle enough.
It's funny because you think curved HDTV, and the first couple we saw at CES a couple of years ago were big, massive 85-inch monitors, and the ones today maybe take up 6-8 inches out from the wall, right? They don't stick out as far as you think they might. Does it? I feel like they deteriorate if you're not sort of in the sweet spot, where that curve points towards, or the radius focal point of that curve, that you lose. It feels like you lose something if you're not in the very dead center target of that curve.
That holds true for any LCD, just about. Depends on the panel technology itself. Most panels you look at nowadays are what they call vertically aligned, or VA type panels. Those have a distinct sweet spot where if you're not seated right in there, you're losing contrast and color saturation. Literally, like moving your head a little bit to the left or the right, you'll especially in skin tones, you'll see the color fade out a little bit, or you'll notice the backlight a little bit more. However, with panels that use IPS technology, the in-plane switching system, that is a lot of LG TVs do, you don't have quite the pure black level that you do with the VA panel technology. That's the big advantage with VA panels, is the contrast performance, but you lose the off-axis. The IPS panels, on the other hand, give you pretty good wide viewing angles at that expense of just not quite the pure contrast performance of a VA type panel. But then, if you could mix in something, say, full array local dimming with that system, to be able to actually dim portions of the screen to help improve how contrast looks even off axis, that's where it can be a big advantage. However, except for Vizio and their decision to go with all full array local dimming on all their top panels, their E, M, and their upcoming reference series, most companies don't do full array local dimming because of the cost associated with having a grid of LEDs behind the screen. They'd much rather have a strip of LEDs along one side, or maybe two. It's usually just one edge, and have that light just propagate across. It's just cheaper. There's very little money to be made building TVs in this world. Mobile devices, that's a different story, but TVs are not very profitable things to get involved in, generally speaking. So you have to choose your battles and cut your costs where you can.
Right. So speaking of Vizio, did we see any of the 21:9 panels? Did those ever actually ship?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say no. No. And although they're still touting the reference series panel coming out, though, this will be their collaboration with the Dolby Vision folks to provide high dynamic range, super bright, full array local dimming. The demo we saw a couple of years back at CES, the last time Vizio was there, they were showing off a prototype, and it was putting out 800 plus nits, which is pretty equivalent to what I was getting out of a Samsung, their flagship, that JS9500. It can do about 800 nits as well. And when you get that level of light output from an LCD screen, it's really fantastic in terms of it being able to recreate a more realistic, say, like outdoor scene with the sun shining on someone's face, or a light source within a room in a darkened scene. It can be so bright as to almost be painful to look at, or just it gives you more immersiveness of what you're actually seeing. And that applies too to even fine dark details like stars in a darkly lit sky or something like that. They pop more. You get more light out of it, and being able to have that range to be able to show really dark detail and have the light capability to pump out that extra detail or that extra brightness when needed, or with high dynamic range content. Now it's actually being streamed through services like Amazon. It's great to have a TV that can take full advantage of that. So I'm hoping full array local dimming kind of makes a comeback on LCDs. Otherwise, I'm really looking at OLEDs at this point because they already do great black level, and then it becomes more about how bright can they be. So,
right.
And that's one of the big deals I think with the new flat panels. I think it's the EF9500 that LG is shipping next month. It is actually rated. It is. Oops, excuse me. Let me cancel something. It is actually rated for not only high dynamic range, but they're claiming they've got the brightness output, and they already do perfect black. So that should be a fantastic display. As future proofed as a 4K display can be for 2015.
It's a good thing. We should. I mean, one last kind of question before we go. Any particular HDTV bargains right now that have you pretty excited? What's the best deal out there in an HDTV?
One of the nicest ones I'm looking at right now is the Sharp's LE 653U series. Low cost, screen sizes from 32 to 55 inches, 1080p. And overall, I found a couple of software quirks that might be related to the test unit I have, but picture quality wise, the movie preset on this TV is fantastic for its just out of the box image quality. And I did a basic white balance calibration on it, and it is spot on as far as color and grayscale performance. And I was very surprised. And it doesn't have a lot of apps built into it, but it has like Netflix, which is really all I care about for the most part. And its Netflix performance was excellent. I mean, you hit that button and it was just like, boom, you're right into it. There was no lag. It was a very good implementation of the application itself. So I really appreciated that. But otherwise, they keep it pretty simple. I mean, it has Wi-Fi built in and some basic file support and other stuff. But just for a simple TV, 3 HDMI inputs, and I'm looking at the 43-inch unit right now, and I think it's $370 on Amazon, pretty affordable. And the movie mode, while it doesn't dump out the light like some of the standard or the dynamic modes do on the TV, I think for a bedroom environment or for a room where you're going to turn the lights down a little bit, the picture quality is just impressive. It's rare to see a value TV where somebody put effort into the presets to make them pretty well factory calibrated. And that was, to me, the best part of it.
Who's making that one again?
That's Sharp.
Okay.
Their LE653U. It's new for 2015. It replaced a previous design that was also a good pick of mine as well, but this is just an updated version of it. And like I said, too, it's more for value. Decent gaming performance in terms of lag. Not the best at really anything other than that movie mode. I will say it was just as far as measurements and specifically the color quality and its accuracy and the grayscale performance, providing a very neutral grayscale from dark black all the way to peak bright, was as good as I could ask for a TV like that, especially at the price point of being, well under $400.
So something you were talking about on Twitter the other day was using 4K monitors as desktop monitors. It's funny that now that there's 60 hertz 4K monitors, HDTVs are easy to find. That eliminates one of the earlier problems we had with them, which was that you just don't want to deal with 4K at 30 hertz. Having DisplayPort or HDMI 2 that'll actually feed your 4K monitor at 60 hertz is a big deal. At what point, it seems to me 43 inches is probably as big as I want to get with a 4K monitor on my desktop. Otherwise, you kind of end up with that stadium view, the tennis match effect.
I don't want to sit too far away from a computer monitor either to make it appropriate. I'd like to be up close, but at the same point, I do like really good pixel density. So if I do get up close to an image I'm looking at or something, I'm not noticing pixels on the screen.
Right.
But there's technically no reason why you can't use any HDTV as a computer monitor, especially when you're talking like the 1080p models and above, as far as resolution goes. You generally will be able. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say a 1080p, like a 55-inch 1080p HDTV, unless it's 8 or 9 feet away from you or on the other side of a room, like 55 inches is going to be too big for a typical desktop. Unless you don't literally mind like reading across the monitor like this, which I don't think works for most people.
or if it's, it's your computer in the living room kind of scenario where it's like you're actually doing computing while you're sitting in the couch at normal viewing distances for a TV that size. Right. But otherwise, I always find, though, if you're going to connect your computer to a TV like that, that's where those picture presets, like movie mode in particular, come in handy, because it immediately knocks out a lot of the sharpness and other enhancements that can really make computer graphics and text on screen look funny. I find that even a little bit of sharpness on any computer display really can ruin the image, specifically for text. It can put a little halo around things, and if you're messing with that, always try the presets first. And if you're still seeing oddities around characters and lines on the screen, there's like a bright or a dark edge to things where you don't think it should be, grab that sharpness setting and just crank it all the way down and get rid of it. But otherwise, I can't think of a good reason not to try it. And in some cases too, if you have a really high performance system, there are a few of the 4K TVs. I want to say Vizio's does this, but at 1080p, you can take it up to 120 hertz of input, and not every TV will do that. But if you're looking to experiment with a high frame rate LCD, that might be one thing to consider as well. But for me, I have standard computer monitors in front of me, more than one, just to make for my productivity sake. But otherwise, I do want a bigger screen though for my workstation, without a doubt.
Don't we all? We should take a moment to turn directions a little bit. Still no Core i7 6770 CPUs, new Silver Lake CPU that I am obsessing over, much to the expense of the audience of This Week in Computer Hardware. There's kind of a wee trickle. We're seeing some second or third tier vendors, or smaller boutique vendors, I should say, that are offering them. But it's hard to tell if they actually have them or if they are just taking your pre-orders for when they're available. I was laughing though because Intel sent Ryan a glorious box, which was introducing the Intel Boxmaster system with color-enabled gaming. And as Ryan goes, sometimes you just get weird boxes in the mail and you know they are going to be up to no good. This time, Intel just launched the Intel Boxmaster system gaming system with color, which has a certain distinctive, creepy 70s vibe going on and looks like a cartridge console machine.
This better be cool. What is it? What is it?
I don't know. It's setting up for something. We know not what. The other thing that was interesting is, since we're sort of in a festival of monitors, the Asus PB258Q frameless 25-inch WQHD IPS monitor review. If you're not ready to go 4K, or if you still want to be able to do gaming without spending all of your monies on GPUs, QHD is really nice because the 2560 by 1444 resolution is fantastic. It's what I'm using on my desktop here. And 25 inches is about the right size. 27 inches, 25, 24 inches, all is good. And this is actually, Sebastian Peak wrote this up for PC Per. It's essentially frameless. It's a pretty gorgeous monitor if you take a look at it. A little bit of some texture across the bottom, a few rows of buttons, and if we pan down a little bit, and practically no bezel. Sebastian found that I guess he was looking for a 1080p monitor and was concerned. He didn't want to go 1080p, but he wanted a bigger monitor and stumbled across this that nobody had really seen what was going on that. But it's... it's Asus. It's a good-looking package. It's very squared. It does offer portrait mode along with landscape mode. The construction looks to be pretty decent. So he took a look at, it's a good-looking monitor. It's simple, right? It's black. It's got a tiny bezel. It's the biggest part of the bezel is that stripe across the bottom of the monitor. Decent color gamut. Quote, uncalibrated results show colors slightly outside of the sRGB range, but very close. Subjectively, the panel did look very good out of the box, but he wanted to see if there was some room for improvement for any color-accurate work. He used the Datacolor Spider Pro 4 colorimeter, which has since been replaced by the Spider 5 Pro. It's a $150 home DIY colorimeter. And get it pretty good. Like, it basically got it to 100% range. He is enthusiastic about it. It's $377. A little bit of grayscale accuracy issues was his biggest complaint, but it's a 2560 by 1440 25-inch panel from a major vendor with a warranty and a decent design for $377. He gave that a PC Per Gold award. So, yep, $376.99 prime delivery. So that's a pretty good deal if you're looking for a new monitor. The other thing that was interesting is the Nixius View 24-inch 1080p FreeSync monitor. Most of the FreeSync monitors we've seen are the higher resolution. They have higher price tags. Alan wrote this up for PC Per. Quote, we have reviewed a lot of variable refresh rate displays over the past several years now, and for the most part, these displays have come with some form of price premium attached. NVIDIA's G-Sync tech requires an additional module that adds cost to the parts list. AMD took a while to get their FreeSync tech pulsed through the scaler makers, and with the added effort needed to implement these parts, display makers naturally push the new features into their higher-end displays first. So, you know, kind of like 27-inch 1440p, 27-inch 144 hertz 1080p monitors. It's a big old list of monitors. This is kind of interesting. This is a 1080p panel from Nixius. It's called the View. It's 24 inches. It's perfectly good size for a 1080p panel. 144 hertz FreeSync display with a VRR bottom limit of 30 frames per second. The B contains a base model stand with only tilt support, while the A model contains a premium stand that does full height, rotation, and tilt support, which is, if you like to be able to adjust the height of your stand, is a pretty big deal. He ran that through kind of the standard gamut of painful testings. It's cheap. FreeSync operates from 30 to 144 hertz, which is a big deal. No glossy parts on the screen, bezel, or stand. And Alan writes, take note, Acer. Very lightweight, especially in the B SKU with the simple stand. Cons was that very odd panel gamma response was correctable with their instructions. FreeSync, quote, still has a variable refresh bottom limit, which is not as brutal for 1080p, and it does require an external power brick if you find those irritating. But it's $330, and it is a pretty fantastic deal. You know, it's only 24 inches. It's a TN panel, but if you want variable refresh rates that jams up to 144 hertz, it's one of your only options out there, especially for $330. And that also got a PC Perspective Gold award. So
nice. Yeah, my next monitor is going to be FreeSync or G-Sync. I just I want a good variable refresh rate monitor for gaming specifically. Even though I don't game as much as I used to, but still, I like that. I like that feature.
There's something to be said for having all of the features. At this point, like, just waiting to figure out. I'm going to get the Silver Lake, get my editing machine going, and then decide whether or not I'm going to get a gigantic, ginormous GPU and start looking at 4K, but I think that's a ways out for me. Are you running Android or an iPhone right now?
Android. I have a Galaxy S6 I just acquired recently.
Nice.
And yeah, it was a nice upgrade. I totally shattered. I had this classic Galaxy S3 that I've been like nursing along forever, and I just like the damn phone. But finally had a backup phone for a Moto G. Great phone, by the way, for dirt cheap, off contract, 4G LTE from last year, not the newest one. But now that I have the Galaxy S6, Android 5, it's just I didn't think I would like a fingerprint reader as much as I did once I had it. I find that on Android, being fully encrypted on the phone requires a password, not a PIN number, and that can be a pain in the butt after 1,000 times of typing in that password. So being able just to put your thumb on there and have it decrypt and get right back to the desktop, it worked out great. So I've yet to fully explore everything the damn phone can do, but so far I'm super happy with performance overall.
I think the more interesting the phones get, the longer they take me to actually work through the 10,000 different options. I bring that up because, of course, September 9th is the Apple iPhone and Apple TV announcement, where we expect the new TV to come out, hopefully with applications. I think they really needed to make it work. What you're looking at right now is a picture from 9 to 5 Mac. Quote, iPhone 6S camera, 12-megapixel photos, 4K video recording, flash for selfies, which is to say that the rumor mongering on the iPhone 6S is starting to heat up to a frenzy. Yeah, 12-megapixel camera in both the new iPhones, according to the sources reported by 9 to 5 Mac, and that is Mark Gurman that wrote that up. Larger, higher resolution photos than before, an upgraded image signal processor that comes as part of the new A9 system on a chip. The new sensor will not wash out or otherwise decrease the quality of photos, according to sources. 4K video recording support, full 4K resolutions. So that will be interesting to see.
Does it mention wireless charging? Are they building that in? I've never had a phone that did wireless charging until my S6, and now I love it.
You know, IKEA is now selling for like $30. They have like side tables for your bedroom, but they're also selling for like $30 Qi compatible chargers. You can drill a hole and then screw into your furniture. But
I picked
now
one up for $14 that I love. It just works perfectly, and I'm just like, it's knowing that I can just leave it laying there on that pad and it just charges without having to worry about plugging cords in and things like that. Just a bit of convenience that I think is awfully nice. So
convenience is good.
It would surprise me if Apple doesn't add that for their next rev of their phones. But
it's been interesting. That will add some thickness. I don't know. It's so right now the things that we know are the things that are rumored are high resolution on the camera, 4K video, the Force Touch display, i.e. the display technology from the Apple Watch, quote, Apple Watch-like animated wallpapers for the interface, the A9 processor, improved graphics for gaming and displaying video, more efficient Qualcomm-built cellular chips, and that's about all we know at this point. Other than that, basically everything says it's going to look pretty much exactly the same. I haven't heard anything about wireless charging.
Yeah.
The antenna.
Maybe they'll throw it in there. I hope so.
We'll find out. I'm doubting it. I don't think they're really down with it at this point.
My mom's about to upgrade her phone. She wants a bigger screen, so currently looking at like either she's in with an iPhone right now, and so it was either a choice between like the 6 or the 6 Plus. And I'd be really curious to see what changes going with this latest rev. So I'll probably be tuning in to check that out when they do their launch.
Yeah,
we just what's coming. Although that'll be a few months off, and she needs something now. So
there's a lot of nice Android phones out right now, especially in the phablet sizes.
Yeah, my friend just got the Note 5, and it's a nice piece of hardware, short of that just that stylus weirdness where you just got to be careful not to put it in backwards, but. Otherwise, it's a fantastic phone, or phablet, however you want to call it. The one thing it lacked, though, compared to like my Galaxy phone, was the infrared emitter, and it's one of those stupid little things where it's like, you know what, I didn't think I'd want it or use it, but it's nice to actually have something I can use as a real remote control for any device around me, which is kind of nice. So I do appreciate the IR capabilities of my phone in addition to all the other great stuff it does. But
yeah, well, it's funny. Shannon actually has really been into the S6 Edge Plus since she got a chance to play around with one. We're talking about that, the Note 5, and actually the Moto X Pure Edition may be the phone of choice. We were talking about that on Tech Thing yesterday.
Nice.
Quote, Davey Alba up on Wired.com, Apple won't say how many Apple Watches it has sold, but market research firm IDC thinks the company's newfangled wearable is doing pretty well, at least as newfangled wearable goes. IDC says they believe that Apple shipped 3.6 million units, which is close to 20% of the wearable or watch, since most wearables are watches, smartwatch market right now, putting them just behind Fitbit, which shipped, according to IDC's estimates, 4.4 million devices. This is all kind of speculation from analysts, but that's not bad. That's not bad, because if you think about the average price of a Fitbit versus the average price of an Apple Watch, you're talking about a pretty big delta there. $78, $130 versus something in the neighborhood of 78, 137. I think the most expensive Fitbit right now is $140. I think.
And if you're using the Fitbit that includes like heart rate monitoring and things like that, also the rubberized design of it, it seems to me that is something more applicable for like an active lifestyle, or you're gonna go to the gym or something. And you're going to get, the heart rate up.
Well, everybody
be sweating.
know that.
I don't want to be sweating all over my iWatch, but I'll sweat all over the Fitbit.
Point. This is just as sealed as a Fitbit. It's funny the fitness is a huge component of everything they built into this, including, of course, the heart monitoring stuff. And actually, supposedly, the watch band I can actually wear on my big giant wrist will arrive via FedEx today, or however Apple delivers these days. I forgot the Fitbit Surge is $246. So that's within $100 of the price of a Apple Watch. But I thought it was interesting. So I think I feel like the smartwatch industry is going to explode by the end of this year. Are you still wearing your Pebble?
I keep it charged up. I find it, the thing I love about it the most is that it goes about a week between charges. And that to me, I think is, it's important. I hate things I have to charge all the time, unless, of course it's wireless. Then I can just lay it on a little pad near my bedstand or whatever, and have it charge up easily. But I prefer a watch to have more than a day of battery life if possible, for any smart device. So I'm hoping with the next rev of Apple's watch that they end up being able to really jump that battery life up to at least a couple of days or a few days. I don't know if they can pull a whole week out of it, but that's one thing. Although it isn't nearly as display pretty. At least my older Pebble with its e-ink technology. The newer ones with full color displays are actually pretty cool. I think those might be e-ink as well, but I really do appreciate though just the additional battery life of it. So and having that great waterproof design and all of it. It's just it's still a handy device, and it's great to have something like that. Just so you don't have to pull the phone out of your pocket every time. You'd be a little more discreet, especially if you're in like a restaurant situation or something where you feel the buzz and you're being messaged or something, and you can just do a quick glance at a watch compared to say pulling out the damn smartphone and then excusing yourself from the table and blah blah blah. Right. Anyway,
so rude.
Just a little. So.
Oh my goodness. That's almost as like talking about keeping things to yourself or being subtle, which is kind of the point of a VPN, a virtual private network, which brings me to our sponsor of this week in computer hardware, ProX VPN. It's a global VPN. That's a virtual private network. Basically allows you to keep your packets encrypted and in just untouchable, unlookable, unreadable. Hide your traffic on the internet, inside the internet. Works with almost any internet connection, creates a secure encrypted tunnel through which all your online data passes back and forth. Any online application can work with ProX VPN, including your web browser, email, file sharing, instant messaging programs, of course, your browsing. Did I mention browsing? Keeping your browsing private. ProX VPN keeps everything you do online hidden from prying eyes, disguising your physical location, and giving you unfettered access to any website or online service, no matter where you live or travel to. If you work in a coffee shop, you should be running a VPN. If you stay in hotels and do business, you should be using the VPN. If your company doesn't have one, it's time to get one going. Nice thing about ProX VPN, no logging, zero logging. Unlike other VPNs, ProX VPN keeps no record of your online activity. Complete privacy through a 512-bit encryption tunnel and a 2048-bit encryption key. Works via OpenVPN or PPTP. You get to choose. Most devices use OpenVPN, but other devices you can do a PPTP connection. No IPv6 traffic leakage or DNS hijacking. Quote, ProX VPN is fully protected, up to date. Protect yourself against your ISP 6 strikes rules. Protect yourself from ISP monitoring, which is a big deal. Bypass internet filtering and blocked websites, i.e. if I want to watch curling from Canada, ProX VPN can help me do that. Man, it's cool. Geographical restrictions, you can bypass them, use servers in the US, the UK, Asia, and more. And ProX VPN is working to improve the speeds on those so you can keep all your video going. It's cool. Windows and Mac software for ProX VPN has advanced controls. You can select ports, connected startup, even select which program should be shut down if your anonymous connection is ever interrupted. Works with iOS and Android devices, so you can use your data plan or public or corporate Wi-Fi with complete and total privacy. Keep your business to yourself. Steve Gibson gave it a great review on Security Now. Would like you to check it out. If you don't have a VPN, if you've been thinking about a VPN, if you're traveling for work and you're a little worried about the hotel Wi-Fi, which you should be, go to proxvpn.com/twit for more information and to sign up. ProX VPN premium accounts are normally $9.98 a month. We got a special offer for you. This is fat. If you use the code TWiCH, TWiCH at checkout, you'll receive 50% off the monthly price when you sign up for a 12-month subscription. That is less than $5 a month when you sign up for a year. year, and it's good for the lifetime of your account. If you're not satisfied, you can cancel within 7 days, get a full refund. Do us a favor, support the show by going to proxpn.com/twit and sign up with the code TWiCH. That's TWiCH, proxpn.com/twit. Visa, PayPal. If you're really secret, you can use Bitcoin, and we want to thank ProXPN for their support of This Week in Computer Hardware. So much privacy, so little time.
It must be done.
Oh man, the battles continue in the GPU market. Latest leak we've seen is AMD Radion R9 Nano Surface. Sebastian posted these up on PCPro.com. This is the Nano, the smaller version of the R9. This actually shows both the outside. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the giant block of copper, which is actually a pretty compact block of copper. It's a good-looking card. 3 display port outputs, a single HDMI port on the end of that. Official specs, are we waiting on those? Are we not waiting on those? That was 223 on August 25th. And then the day before, more leaks, right? AMD gives a glimpse of R9 Nano performance. Golem, which is a terrible name for a website, German language tech site. They leaked a slide they claimed was at AMD's GPU presentation at Hot Chips in Cupertino. And it looks like the R9 Nano GPU is doing pretty good. If you look at the graph, the blue is a Fury X, the red is a Fury Nano, and the orange is Hawaii. The second roll on those, if you take a look at that graph, is the performance per watt, and it's pretty fantastic. The Fury Nano is that big long bar on the bottom, and it looks pretty good. So it's only like 3 frames per second better than the Radeon R9 290X. But it delivered almost twice the performance per watt of the baseline 290X. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, it's a very small part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think is that going to go right into a mobile chipset as well, most likely, or any idea?
Well, this is more of this almost feels like a smaller home theater PC card or something like that. I think the thermal envelope's still a bit much for a laptop. But we will find out in the near future, I suspect, because the leaks are starting to pick up speed, possibly because GPU shipments are down. John Petty Research, who's kind of the go-to in the graphics market, says that AMD is at 18% of the market share, down from 22.5% last quarter. Matrox is now at 0% market share. Matrox was basically still out there doing multi-head units for like banking systems or brokers. And NVIDIA is rocking 81.9% of the market share for add-in boards, up from 77%. So, it's like 5% quarter to quarter for AMD. So they're looking for a good part to pick things up and turn things around. That's down almost 20% from last year. Not quite, but that's a pretty big deal. I hope they can drop some really good parts and pick up some market share, because I don't particularly want Intel, and I would really like AMD to keep Intel and NVIDIA on their GPU toes.
Me too.
Yeah,
I want more than just one choice. I mean, generally, I've been buying NVIDIA cards for quite a while just because I love their driver packages. That was the big deal. But there's some terrific hardware options from AMD, and I like choice, and I like having competition among the manufacturers as well, and especially for discrete boards, because I'm still using a PC, and I still, the thing I upgrade the most often in my PC is the graphics card. So it's having good options are always a good thing, without a doubt. So.
Oh man, Logitech battling and doing new and exciting stuff. New naming this summer. Now they've released the G633 and the G933 headsets for premium gaming markets. From what Josh wrote up on PCPro, this has been at least 5 years since Logitech did much of anything with their gaming headsets. The G35 and G230 go back to 2010. So this is a big announcement for them. Pro G audio driver, support across PC, console, and mobile. Those are the G633 Spectrum, the Artemis Spectrum. 7.1 surround sound with Dolby, DTS headphone X, RGB lighting, should you want to have colorful, bright, shiny headphones, and I know a lot of you out there do, especially Robert's. So this is, I tease. This should be interesting to see because I think Ryan got to demo. I think this is actually where Ryan is today. So they figured out sort of 40 millimeter drivers were the sweet spot in terms of performance to deliver a, quote, flat curve without diminishing the high end. And that's kind of a big deal because, as you can get more bass out of a larger driver, but you usually do it at the expense of the high-end performance by comparison. 3D positional sound, they've made a lot of changes in that. Like I said, DTS Headphone X supports Virtual 7.1. Quote, created a software solution that more accurately provides this effect than their previous G35 and higher headphones, which feature the 7.1 functionality. So it should sound more realistic. It's basically the same boom microphone. The LED lighting can be changed to the tune of 16.8 million colors. If you scroll down to the bottom of the screen, you'll see those there. The 633 is fashionable, stylish.
Is it Bluetooth?
That's a fine question.
That's my question. Because suddenly, every TV I look at now has with Bluetooth built in. Supports Bluetooth headphones. So I'm like, I probably should upgrade and get a pair of Bluetooth headphones just for testing purposes, if nothing else.
The 933 are wireless.
Probably, if they're doing mobile,
you can handle up to 3 inputs.
I'm assuming there's got to be a Bluetooth chip sitting there, but
I'm not seeing a single mention of Bluetooth on the page, though.
Damn it, man!
I know. Hold on. So they can handle 2 inputs on the 633. The 933 can handle 3 inputs. Sir, I am obsessed.
I understand.
That's actually, well, I'm kind of curious because it's Logitech, so it's entirely possible that they have a dongle.
Could be.
So the 933 is going to sell for $200. They're taking pre-orders right now. And
wireless.
It's really cool. PC, mobile, home theater devices, game consoles, including the PS4 and Xbox One. 2.4 gigahertz wireless.
Probably not Bluetooth then. Odd.
Not. USB powered mix adapter, so you can combine an analog input on the wireless mix adapter. Multi-source audio mixing. Customized sound profiles. 15 meters indoor wireless range. A USB connection. It sounds like it's got a proprietary brick. So
I think you're right. Because you think if it was Bluetooth, they would just come right out and say that for a wireless technology. So it may not be my perfect headset, but it's showing me where I need to go, though. So I'm on a quest now to find a good Bluetooth headset. So
as well, you should be. A couple fast stories before we go. I am not a fan of portable keyboards because they usually suck, but I want to get my grubby little fingers on LG's new mobile keyboard. It literally rolls up into a stick. So it actually has
design.
Yeah. 17 millimeter key pitch, which is very comparable. It's like a millimeter off from a typical key pitch on a desktop keyboard. Polycarbonate and ABS plastic. So I will be really curious what those keys actually feel like in real life. That's going to be debuted at the IFA show next week in Berlin. Dell's Venue 10 just came out. PC Purr's got a write-up on that. It's the convertible tablet. Sebastian Peak wrote that up. It's really good looking. A 10.5-inch OLED screen. Optional keyboard, which I would certainly want it on there if I was doing content creation. A Z3580 quad core, 2.33 gigahertz processor, Power VR G640, 6430 graphics, 2 gigs of memory, 2560 by 1600 OLED display, which looks really gorgeous. 16 or 32 gigabyte eMMC for storage, 8 megapixel rear camera, 2 megapixel front camera. 802.11 AC 1x1 dual PAN, Bluetooth 4.0, USB 2.0 for power and data, which is a bummer because I'm obsessed with USB 3.0, a 7,000 milliamp hour battery, sells for $499. And yes, Virginia, it is an Android laptop coming with a Lollipop. It'll go to 0.1 after an over-the-air update. Battery life, I was really curious about. They came out with 9.2 hours compared to 7.25 for an Apple Air 2 or 6.3 hours for a Google Nexus 9 or 6.18 hours for the previous generation Dell Venue. Gets a silver award. It's good looking. It's a really, really nice convertible tablet design. It's got a strong hinge. And quote, it just made me wish it ran Windows more and more each time I powered it up. Sebastian was not particularly impressed with the battery life. I was underwhelmed with the system on a chip performance from the Atom Z3580. And of course, the mixed experience of Android as a tablet OS. So nice piece of hardware, needs more CPU, needs more battery.
Are you seeing more OLED displays on mobile devices like that? That seems
mostly on phones.
One of the few I've heard of recently. So
yeah, most of them we've seen have been on phones. But silver award from PC Per. I think OLEDs are gonna heat up in the tablet market in a big way. Alienware has launched 3 new gaming laptops, which I don't think I've seen a new gaming laptop from them in forever. 13, 15, and 17-inch laptops, USB 3.1, PCI Express SSDs, and support for the graphics amplifier, which is Alienware's name for their external graphics card, their toaster with a GPU inside, which I thought was kind of fun to see. And there's more details on the Snapdragon 820 up on PCPer.com, talking about the DSP, which is interesting. This is going to be a monster part when it finally shows up. They talked about the Adreno, 500 series GPU architecture. There's some pretty cool stuff going on there, and this article that Ryan wrote up is talking about the DSP module, which has a lot of programmable features in it. Multi-threaded programmable compute engine. They can currently execute audio and imaging tasks. So that'll be fun to see where that ends up. There's going to be some pretty badass phones and tablets next year, I think. But that's kind of probably an easy assumption. The phones will get better.
Awesome.
Well, I want phones. I want especially the phablet phones with these quad HD panels. I want them to start upgrading the batteries to like 4,000 milliamp hours, 5,000 milliamp hours, because I don't feel like the 3,000 milliamp hours are really cutting it. But oh my goodness.
I mean, it's rare that even with my new phone, I find that it probably won't go a whole day of pretty regular use unless I switch it into one of its power saving modes. But at least I have that as an option. And a lot of people I know are now carrying around spare battery packs for portable charging. And they make those in a variety of different sizes. So you can find one that, fits your lifestyle. But I much prefer not even needing that and just having something that lasts, a good day or two. And that is one thing, at least with the Motorola phone I just had or still have, it had phenomenal battery life. It was like a good 2-day phone. Where you could really go a couple days with it. But I do find that if I do flip on the ultra power saving mode, especially if I know I'm going to have a long day and I'm not going to be around an electrical outlet, that's you just charge up to 100%, switch into ultra power saving mode on the phone I have, and it'll go probably a couple of days easy. So it does reduce some functionality to get that, but still, it's at least an option that's easy to enable or disable. So something I think about a lot, because it's like I need my device to work for the length of time I need it to work, and at least a day is like the minimum. So if it can go a couple days, all the better.
All the better. Where can people find more of Mr. Robert Heron? What's the best place to look for your new work, your latest work?
You can find out what I'm doing on Twitter. I always tweet there at Robert Heron, or check out my website. I often link articles I've written for other places there, or I'll republish a rewrite of an article that I just recently finished. Like I just finished up Samsung's 2 top-of-the-line TVs. I need to get those actually posted. The 9500's on my website. 8500's coming this week. I'm finishing up that Sharp TV I mentioned earlier. Someone was asking too earlier about Sharp being purchased by Hisense coming up. So nothing changes as far as Sharp electronics goes for the rest of this year. But Hisense will be taking over the name of Sharp's television division, and basically they purchased the naming rights so they can use that name in their own products. And Hisense isn't screwing around. I mean, they're a solid Chinese manufacturer, and I would like if they can use the Sharp name and run with it to get them into more markets and to offer good products. I think that's kind of what Sharp needed, was somebody to kind of step in and say, hey, we've got great designs and good technology. We'd like a brand that's a little more well known than Hisense. But I don't think it's the end of the world for that company. And like I said, until that happens next year, Sharp's told me that absolutely nothing's really changed other than, come next year, that won't be within the company. It will be being done by a third party, but still.
It
is. It's all good. So
it's all good. So you can find Robert's reviews at heronfidelity.com, at robertheron.com. I'm still at robertheron.com, on Twitter at Robert Heron. I'm still at Patrick Norton on Twitter. And of course, you can find me at techthing, TEKTHING.com, or youtube.com/techthing. And as always, you can find every episode of Twitch This Week in Computer Hardware up at twit.tv/Twitch, including information on how to subscribe, or just search for Twitch on iTunes or on your favorite podcatcher. And with that, we got to go. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
We'll see you next week on Twitch.